So we are discussing lecture number 5. So here we are trying to understand how self is central to human existence and body is an instrument of the self. So if you see, we are recapitulating what we have discussed so far and slightly going more than it. So we can see clearly that human being is coexistence of self and body. The needs are different, activities are different, the response is different. So I am a conscious entity and the body is a material entity. This part is clear? Any question regarding this? Because you all have to conduct sessions. So lot many questions can be asked, isn't it? So whatever question occurs to you, we can discuss here. Okay. Demand for workshop is going to be much higher. So we all have to develop as resource persons. Yes. Yes. So we have to be clear. To listen to the proposal so that I can grasp the proposal as it is. So getting to the meaning of words, whatever is being said. Second thing is to analyze the proposal in detail so that the meanings are clear, the proposal is clear, and I am able to see the reality vis-a-vis the proposal. And the third is to observe it as it is, isn't it? That may take some time, but unless we try to observe, it only remains at the level of imagination. It does not become a part of our understanding. So here we are in UHV-3 to understand it, to observe it, isn't it? And we shall also be doing the exercises 1 and 2. So we can see that the being of self and body is marked differently by the activity of assuming. If you look at the activity, so the assuming is there in the self, not the body, isn't it? Can you see this? That I assume, it's not the body that assumes, and I try to know, not the body, isn't it? Now this is something that we discuss in exercise 2 also, we will discuss it here also. So if you look at the transaction between self and body, the self is giving some instruction to the body, for example get up, walk, etc., and the self is reading some sensation from the body, sensation of pain, itching, etc. We can make it itching, so that correction can be done. So instruction is an information given by the self and sensation is information received by the self. There is no transaction, any material transaction between self and the body, it is only in the form of information. So the decision is always there in the self to send instruction or to read sensation. Can we see this? Isn't it? So I read the sensation decisively, I decide to read it and then only I read it. So we can see, like in front of our eyes there could be so many things, isn't it? When I open my eyes there could be n number of things in front of my eyes, but if I want to meet someone and I am looking for that person, I see only that person, I do not see other things. In fact, when you are in a Zoom meeting, then there is an option to fade other things. We see like that only. We fade other things and see only that person who we want to see. Isn't it? So if somebody asks how many air conditioners are there in this room, if it is not important to us, we don't remember, isn't it? But if a particular person is there in this room or not, we do remember. So the decision for every transaction is made by the self, and this is something that has been discussed. So I am the seer, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer or experiencer. This part is clear completely. So seer means the one who sees or understands. So I think this has been discussed by Ganesh ji. I am the doer. Doer means the one that does, who takes the decision to do. And enjoyer means the one that experiences happiness or unhappiness. So I am the one that feels enthused or depressed. I am the one that feels angry or delighted. I am the enjoyer, the experiencer. So these three words put together. Now we will talk about two blocks in the self, block B1 and block B2. So the seer is block B1, the higher activity of the self in this block is the main seer. So even if block B1 is not awakened, we are still the seer. So we are trying to awaken the seer, isn't it? So it is written as the main seer. It means even if it is not awakened, we see, but it is at the level of imagination only. It is not at the level of knowing. So it is able to see the reality, a unit, say a tree for example, in relationship, harmony and coexistence, which is the essence, which is definite, universal and continuous. So we will talk about 5 aspects of the reality. So now there is something which is definite, universal and continuous. So if you look at the relationship, that is the natural characteristic of any unit. I am able to see it at the level of contemplation. So if you look at the 5 dimensions of a unit, it is form, property, relationship, harmony and coexistence. Form means, for example, if you talk about shape, size, density, all these make the form. Property means effect of one unit on another unit. So this is not something universal. This changes from time to time. This is not continuous also. This is temporary, isn't it? But the natural characteristic or the relationship is something which is continuous. So when we are using that seeing here, it is in terms of seeing the relationship, the natural characteristic, seeing the harmony, the innateness, and seeing the submergence, the coexistence. So block B1 is the seer here, because this is something to know. Knowing is here. So knowing is there in block B1. We will talk about it when we open up the diagram. Doer B2, activities in the imagination of the self in this block is the doer. It recognizes its relationship with other units and works out the details of how to fulfill this relationship, thinking of planning. So planning, programming, implementing, and all these things are done by block B2. So there I am the doer, and if you look at the enjoyer, both B1 and B2. Now here also, if you look at doer, so in the self I have the state activity as well as the dynamic activity. So if you look at the dynamism as the doer, it is there in block B1 as well as block B2. But here we are talking about planning and programming. Then it comes to block B2. We will discuss in detail. Enjoyer is block B1 and B2 both. So it enjoys super bliss, satisfaction, peace and happiness at the level of realization, understanding, contemplation, comparing and testing. So look into all these details with a diagram. So this is the diagram. So I think now we have been discussing this in UHV2 also slightly, and we are also discussing this in the morning sessions. So it is not something completely new to us, but we can discuss about these activities, and we will discuss these activities in module 2 in detail also, but we will take up here also. So when I look at myself, I can see that I have these many activities. So this block B1 is the seer, the one who knows. Now here I have the activities of realization, authentication, understanding, determination, contemplation. In block B2 I have the activities of imaging, comparing, analyzing, testing and selecting. And if you look at the 2 kinds of activities, here we have the state activities, here we have the dynamic activities. The state activities means whatever happens here gets stated within. So I come to know, isn't it? I come to see. So I am able to see the relationship. It gets stated here in contemplation. I am able to see the harmony. It gets stated here in understanding. I am able to see the submergence. It gets stated here in realization. Now the dynamism or the dynamic activity is the decision making related to that. So now going from bottom to top, at some point of time I am able to see the whole existence as coexistence. This is realization. So I am able to see that nature is there, space is there, the whole nature is submerged in space, and that essentially means that I am able to see that every unit in this nature is self-organized, self-energized and recognizing its relationship with other units being in space. So this is the gist of all that I come to see. Now here I have realized the whole existence as coexistence. Now all these activities are now going to be guided by this. So, this is an authentication in me. Now, unless I have been able to see this, the activities are not complete. When I come to see this, it gets authenticated in terms of all these activities getting completely developed. So, this is authentication. Understanding means to see the harmony in the nature. So, I can see that there are 4 orders in nature, and these 4 orders are mutually fulfilling to each other. When I am able to see this completely, then naturally the decision to live is there in accordance with that. So, whenever I have to live with any of the orders, it is based on this understanding. So, the decision is related to this. Somebody is talking, I think. So, the decision is related to this, that is the determination. This, yes. Okay, I will come to that. Yes. Now, this determination is different from what we generally use, this word for in our day to day life. So, I am determined to cross UPSC examination this year. This is not determination. This is a decision that I have made in block B2, maybe at the level of selecting and testing only. So, that is not determination. Here what we are using is the natural determination. That means once I am able to see that all the units in the nature are fulfilling to each other, my every thought, my every feeling is in terms of mutual fulfillment. This natural decision in me to be in accordance with the harmony of the nature is determination. So, it is not something to be taken up separately. Contemplation is to see the relationship of one unit with another unit. So, for example, when we talk about the human relationship, so I am able to contemplate on the feeling of trust. I am able to see very naturally that I as a self want to be happy, want to make the other happy, and the same thing holds true for the other, isn't it? I am able to see that I have the same purpose, program and potential as the other, and we are complementary to each other. So, this is contemplation. Now, once this gets contemplated in me, the decision in me to live accordingly. So, I image in accordance with that. No longer do I image to dominate over others, to overpower others, to exploit others for the sake of happiness, assuming it to be happiness. My now every imaging is in terms of fulfilling the relationship. My every imaging is now in terms of living in harmony. My every imaging is now in terms of living in coexistence. So, this is a natural outcome. So, this arrow indicates that now that if this seer is activated, then the block B2 is guided. This red arrow is the guidance. So, I image accordingly. I compare between various alternatives accordingly. There could be various bases of comparing. For example, if I have to transact with someone, one basis for comparing could be profit. How should I transact with the other so that I get more and the other gets less? This could be there earlier. Now, when I transact, it is in terms of mutual happiness and mutual prosperity. So, my thought process has transformed now. When I have to select some food for me, earlier it could be for the taste, for the food, from the food. Now, the selection is going to be in terms of utilizing this body as an instrument. So, my comparing gets transformed. Every time I am thinking, analyzing and comparing in terms of fulfilling the body, fulfilling the rest of nature, fulfilling the other human being. So, I analyze accordingly. Now, there are two words, analysis and synthesis. So, synthesis means bringing things together. Analyzing means, or analysis means breaking them into parts. So, in my thought process all the time I am analyzing. So, for example, if I remember some situation, I analyze the situation by breaking into multiple parts. Maybe when I am sitting here, I get reminded of my family. So, this family comes as a single image in me. Now, that image gets split into multiple images. My spouse is there, child is there, home is there, parents are there, friends are there, so many things. Now, how does it happen? So, this family now gets split into multiple images, a single image of family. This is analyzing. So, all the time we are doing this. If you look at your thought process, something occurs to you and gets further analyzed. And then when it gets further split into multiple images, you pick a certain particular image and then you again start analyzing that particular image. Now in your family you get reminded of your child, and then you start imaging about the child's looks, the child's voice, the child's actions, okay, other things related to the child. So this is something as a continuous process in me. So some image is there in me for happiness, I keep on analyzing that image for happiness. Now with right understanding I analyze with happiness, and I also keep on comparing. For example, now that you have to plan for the future of your child, earlier it could be to make the child the topper in the class, the most superior person in the society, and so on. Now it is in terms of making the child with a person with right understanding, right feeling. So your comparing has now got transformed. So now that when you image the future of the child and analyze it, it is not in terms of earlier preconditionings. It is now in terms of ensuring that the child is going to lead a happy and prosperous life. So for that, the right understanding has to be ensured. Whenever I analyze, I have a taste associated with it. Whatever I analyze, if you analyze food, you have a taste associated. If you analyze a friend, there is a taste associated. You analyze your home, there is a taste associated, isn't it? Whatever you analyze, there is a taste associated with it. So this analysis and comparing takes place together, and there is always a taste associated with this. Now you pick a particular part of that image and then go further to analyze. What is that? That is selecting. So within me I am always selecting something to which I relate happiness, to which I relate prosperity. All the time I am doing this in me. So if you look at this imagination and analyze this particular imagination, then you can see that all these activities are associated with it, and this is something which is going on in me continuously. Now sometimes I select to express it outside, sometimes I select not to express outside. Most of the time I do not express it outside, I am just doing something within me. So when I express outside, then the body is involved. For example, so maybe some itching sensation is there in the body, I am ignoring it, it is okay, and it keeps on happening. But at times I also scratch it. So there my body is involved. Now when I am relating to the other human being, I am expressing my feeling to the other human being, then the other human being is also involved. Similarly, if you look at the work, I am sometimes interacting with the rest of nature, sometimes I am not, isn't it? And similarly, I am participating in the larger order, this way or that way. Is this clear? Any question with this? So here you can see that both B1 and B2 are the enjoyer. So here also there is happiness, here also there is happiness. Now there are different states of happiness. Happiness at the level of expectation is termed as happiness. It means there is definiteness of selecting and testing. At the level of thought, when there is definiteness, I am free of any kind of contradiction, conflict, dilemma, then I enjoy peace in me, isn't it? Here at the level of desire, when my desires are definite, they are no longer dictated by any preconditioning, any kind of borrowed notion, but rather they are based on the contemplation of right feeling, then I have satisfaction in me. Okay. So that is definiteness of desire within the self, which is again there as a part of continuous happiness. Similarly, when I understand the whole nature as being fulfilling, like all the entities in the nature being fulfilled to each other, then I am able to see that yes, this is what I am in, I am a part of this harmonious nature. This is the state of bliss. And when I am able to see the whole nature submerged in space, this is called as super bliss. So I am enjoying super bliss, satisfaction, peace and happiness within me. Now here what is happening, when the block B1 is not activated and we are only active at the level of block B2, then I am happy but at times, I am peaceful but at times, I feel satisfied sometimes, sometimes dissatisfied, because the higher level activities are not activated. Once they are activated, there is continuity here. I use so many words, right? Now let us discuss what all is clear, what is not clear. So seer is block B1, doer is B2, and enjoyer is both B1 and B2, that is the experiencer. We will talk about this. So anything which is not clear? जी, take the mic. जी. So I'll give an example, है ना, and then we'll discuss it.
Yeah, I want to get clarity in authentication and determination.
See, the authentication is the decision related to realization. Determination, the decision related to understanding. In very plain words, this is it, right? Is the decision related to realization in me, decision in me. Determination, the decision in me related to understanding. Now, right understanding, if you see all these put together, is right understanding. So, in Hindi it is written as bodh. Now, if you look at right understanding, we call it sahi samajh. So, like we are trying to locate the precise words, so we could find understanding only related to bodh. So, that is why we have written it as understanding. Some other word can also be used. So, here when we are saying understanding, it is to see the harmony in the nature. Now, how it relates to me, now we have to start relating it to oneself. So, now this diagram will explain, then I will explain other words also. Yes. So, presently we are doing something here. Presently we are doing something here. Now, when I reach this state of realization, right, I am able to see that space is there, which is all pervading everywhere, inside a unit, outside a unit, it is there everywhere, and every unit is there in space. Now, at the level of thought also we are able to see that yes, space cannot have limits, isn't it? Every unit is going to be there in space, but this is something that I am analyzing at the level of thought. Now, when I come to see this naturally, that space is there everywhere, I am there in space, every unit is there in space, and space, which is no activity, is at the base of every activity. Being in space, every unit, that is activity, is self organized, that is, it is taking place in a definite manner. It is self energized, the unit continues, the unit does not vanish, and every unit is recognizing its relationship with every other unit. So, for example, now if you look at this building, if you look at the building, it is a unit, isn't it? This building is also active. Its activity, if you look at the molecules and atom that every brick is made of, so every atom and molecule is active. It is self organized. If you make it in a particular fashion, it is going to be there. We are very sure that this roof is not going to fall. We are sitting peacefully here. So, all these units in the building are self organized. If they are placed in a particular manner, they will sustain. Like if the base is wider and the building is made on that, then it is going to sustain. If the building has the base as a pinpointed something cone, and you make a building, you try to put a building like a cone here, it is fall down. It is self organized. So, this building is self organized. Every unit of the building is active. It is self energized also. Activity means energy. This self energized also. Nobody is pumping energy into it, isn't it? It is interacting with other units also. So, this building is interacting with the earth is interacting with the building, and the building is there very much. So, there is a definite law with which this building is there, the existence of the building is there. Now, this building is just one unit in the entire nature. Similarly, our body is there, your body is there, all these things are there. Now, if you look at it, you can see that every unit, like our body, is self organized. We had lunch, we just put something in the mouth with our hands, rest is being taken care of. Again we will feel hungry by 8 o'clock, it will get digested by that time. It is working in a self organized manner. It is energized also. So, it is only that the energy goes up or down. So, when we took food, we got some energy from the food, the body got energy from the food. Now, we are having some discussion here, and we are utilizing the energy of the body. After some time, the body gets less energy, the energy is used. So, we again try to provide energy to the body through food. But if you look at every cell of the body, it is self energized, only that the energy goes up and down. If you look at the space, Space is equilibrium energy, that is also energy, but that is at the base of every relative energy which is there in the unit. So, the energy goes up or down, but it is self energized. Every cell of the body, every atom and molecule of the body is self energized and it is participating. So, every cell of the body is participating with other cells of the body. So, if you look at the organs in the body, they are coordinating together, the lungs, the heart, the kidney, the liver, isn't it? Now, in a single body part also they are coordinating with each other. So, they are recognizing the relationship and fulfilling it. Now, just try to see how this is happening. How this is happening? So, this is happening by itself. There is no organizer for this, this is self organized. There is no energizer for this is self energized. This is happening being submerged in space. So, what I am able to see for the body, I am able to see for all the entities in the nature. I am able to see this for myself also. When I look at myself, I can see that I am self energized, self organized. I am also fulfilling my relationship with other units, recognizing a relationship. It is only that when I get developed to the extent that block B1 is activated, my recognition is definite, otherwise it is not definite. I am self energized, I am also self organized in a way that whenever I have some thought of opposition, I feel unhappy. When I have thought of relationship, I feel happy. Anytime I have thought of disharmony, I feel unhappy, I feel uncomfortable. When I think in terms of harmony, I am comfortable. How is it happening? I have some natural acceptance in me which decides what is right for me, what is not right for me. Now, this natural acceptance is a reflection of this coexistence in me. So, that is being self organized. Now, the material units, if you see, they do not have the activity of assuming or knowing. I have. So, I come to assume wrongly, but the moment I wrongly assume, I get unhappy. This is being self organized. So, you look at the conscious unit, you look at the material unit, we can see how every unit being in space is self energized, self organized and recognizing the relationship and fulfilling it. So, this is something which I am able to see for the whole nature, and nature does not mean this planet. There are so many celestial bodies in this whole existence. All these bodies, if you see how come the earth is rotating on its axis, how come the earth is revolving around the sun, how come the sun is also doing some similar activity, how come all these things are taking place in such a self organized manner, what is there at the base. These inquiries have been there in us, and we have been trying to find the root, the cause behind all this. When we are not able to see the reality, we associate some assumption there. And when I am able to see the reality, I am in a state of super bliss. So, I am able to see the reality as the whole nature being submerged in space. This is realization. Now, when I am able to see this, naturally my all activities are being guided by this only. No longer I am carrying any assumption in me which is other than this. My whole assuming is now guided by this knowing. This is authentication. I can see this for my body, I can see this for this building, I can see this for any unit in the nature, that this is it, this is the way it is. Now, like when I am able to see this, my understanding gets complete. So, earlier I had been trying to understand the harmony in the nature, and I could see that there are 4 orders in nature which are fulfilling to each other. Now, I had a question in me that how come all these 4 orders are mutually fulfilling to each other? How is it happening? With realization, I am able to see the basis for this. So, this understanding gets complete. Now, when this understanding gets complete, the determination in me is there to live accordingly, isn't it? Why should I think anything otherwise? When the whole nature is there in harmony, the moment I think of disharmony, I am in problems. So, why should I create unhappiness for me? It comes naturally to me. Every moment I am thinking in terms of fulfilling the harmony with human being and the rest of nature. So, this is a natural determination here in me. Now, with this the contemplation gets complete. So, I started by looking at relationship between oneself and the other self. I started by contemplating on trust, respect, affection, and I could see the feeling of love, but still the basis for all these feelings was not clear. So, if you see all these feelings, the relationship are merely a reflection of coexistence. When I am able to realize the whole existence as coexistence, the basis for all these feelings becomes clear to me. Like when I say trust, I want to be happy, I want to make the other happy. What does it mean? I am in coexistence with you, isn't it? I am also self-organized, you are also self-organized, only that we are not able to see it. The moment I see it, I live accordingly. So I can never have the feeling of making someone unhappy when I am able to see it so clearly. I have to decide it separately, I have to work for it, I have to remember it, I have to trace it. Why? Because I am not able to see it. So presently when we are working only in the domain of imagination, when we are not able to see, we have to do labor within us, we have to toil to keep these feelings active in us. Otherwise we again get misguided by the preconditioning or sensation. So this toiling, this labor in me gets done away with when I am able to see the reality as it is. No more such an extra effort is required. No more I get tired of fulfilling relationships. Presently when we try to fulfill the relationship without understanding the relation, we get tired. For how much time I can work to keep this person happy. Let him go to hell now. It is enough. Isn't it? This body also, what to do with this body all the time. It keeps on demanding food, it keeps on doing so many things. So now when we go to fulfill the other units, be it the human being or the rest of nature, we feel tired because it is not coming naturally to us. And then we feel depressed, and then we start motivating ourselves, and then we make some extra effort to fulfill. So if you see, all the time we are doing some kind of labor in us, shram kar rahe hain apne andar. There is no state of vishram, there is no ease in us, there is no peace. But once I am able to see the reality as it is, then that peace is there in me. So when I am able to contemplate on all the feelings, then the imaging gets guided and so on. So with right understanding in completeness, this will be there as a state of mind. So I am there with super bliss in me because I am able to see the whole existence as coexistence. I will see the harmony in the nature, thus I am enjoying bliss every moment. I feel satisfied in relationships as well as in terms of physiochemical things. I feel satisfied. You just see that once I am able to see that I am a continuous entity, and continuous means continuous. It is not a matter of 70, 80 years, even a matter of 70, 80 million years. It is continuous, isn't it? The moment I am able to see this, just to try to imagine this, that you are continuous. So why should I work for momentary things? Why not utilize the body so that this continuous entity, the craving which is there, gets done away with, and I am able to be in a state in which I want to be, isn't it? So I am at peace within, I am happy within, and then when I interact with the human being, it is in terms of mutual happiness. When I interact with the rest of nature, it is in terms of mutual prosperity, and I participate in the larger order every time to fulfill the human goal. So when I am doing a job, it is also a participation in the larger order, isn't it? When I am living in my colony and I am doing something, it is again in terms of fulfillment of the common human goal. So every time I am able to see the human goal, isn't it? And there also I can see that this relates to the universal human order. So it is not subjected to some locality, some nation, some state, some district. It is for the whole humanity, generation by generation. With this understanding, I am able to see the whole next generation as my child. It's not only my particular child as my child. I can see that the whole next generation is my child. The whole world is my family. That kind of upliftment of the self does take place. That awakening takes place in me. So this is something that we will be discussing in detail also. Now if you look at these words, so this I explained. Realization is clarity of coexistence in existence, that is the submergence. Understanding is clarity of harmony in the nature, the self-organization, the innateness. So when we open up the diagram of the nature, these words will again occur, but briefly going over it. So like we have talked about the 4 orders in nature, and we can see that they are mutually fulfilling. isn't it? I can see the self organization of every unit, I can see the innateness of every unit. Similarly, I can see the relationship, I can see the natural characteristic, that is the participation in the larger order. Now, at the level of thought, presently I might be working only at the level of senses, health and profit. So, senses mean that I try to enjoy happiness out of sensation. This is being guided by senses. Or I try to consume as much as possible, assuming myself to be the body. Or I try to get maximum in exchange of physical facilities. This is being guided by profit. And this is only up to the point when I am not able to see the relationship or harmony or coexistence. When I am able to see this, now the senses get guided by the clarity of relationship, harmony and coexistence. So, when I have to select a food, it is not for taste, it is not for health. And why health also? So that the body works as an instrument. Every time I am able to see this. It is no longer that I pick something, eat something and then lament, oh, again it happened. I could not have, I should not have eaten this. Similarly, when it comes to consuming, I can see how much I require, isn't it? How much I require in terms of food, how much I require in terms of clothes, how much I require in terms of house, how much I require in terms of facilities, gadgets, all that I can make out, and the purpose is very much clear. So, the physical facility is there for my body and the body is my instrument. This physical facility is an instrument of the body. Unknowingly we become subservient to the physical facilities, we become instrument of the physical facilities. So, we start accumulating, we start indulging, assuming that to be happiness, and we spend the whole of life just thinking in terms of physical facilities. When we go to conduct, for example, in some colleges when the full induction program is not taking place, they will conduct 1 or 2 sessions for the students. All the students will be sitting in one place. So, there we have to just talk for 2 hours or 1.5 hours. So, whenever this situation is there and we have to give a very brief talk, so I ask a few questions to the students. So, I ask them, how many of you want to be a billionaire? Every student will raise hand. How many of you want to become happy? Everyone will raise hand. Then you ask them, how many of you are able to see that once you become a billionaire, you are happy in continuity? Nobody raises hand. And then you ask them, then why do you want to become a billionaire? Then they start laughing. So, presently the whole thought imagination is somewhat in terms of becoming a billionaire. Every time they will bring out a list, this person is on the top, this person slipped to the 4th position, he was there in the 3rd position previous week. If you open YouTube nowadays, there is a person who starts from this sentence, why are you not a billionaire? You can become billionaire in a month. So, this enters into the imagination. Now, this information that comes to the imagination becomes a motivation. Now, if you talk to the students today, they are most of the time thinking in terms of this, talking in terms of this, isn't it? So, the thought is misguided by profit, by consumption, by senses, isn't it? Even they assume the health to be consumption. The more I consume, the healthier I am. The more sensual pleasures I take, the happier I am. So, if you look at their plans and programs, what is happening? Once I get on a job, first thing I will purchase a car. How much will it cost? At least 20 lakhs. You talk to them, they have imagination like this. Then I will go for touring the whole world, isn't it? So, there is one cousin of mine, she got a job and she made a program of 30 before 30. Before I turn 30, I have to tour 30 countries. So, this kind of desire that they have, why? For sensual pleasure, to get more and more sensation through sight, through ear, through nose, through skin, through touch, smell. So, they are planning in these terms. And then whenever it comes to pick a job, they look for package. And now the companies are fed up of job hopping. Now when they have to hire a person, they look into the profile in the previous 2 years, how many jobs you have hopped. Like if you are hopping a job every 3 months, then you are not fit. Now they are looking more for your stability than your skills. They train somebody for 3 months, after 3 months the person has left the job and opted for some other job. Isn't it? Previous one.
So we had seen the proposal for happiness to be in a state of harmony. And we said happiness is a feeling. So it can't be quantified. It's qualitative. Then how come it is different from peace, satisfaction, bliss, super bliss?
Yeah. See, qualitative means if I want it every moment, else I don't want it. So when we are talking about that diagram also, when we said qualitative and quantitative. So when you talk about the needs of the body, there is a definite quantity associated with it. When you talk about the needs of the self, if I want it, I want every moment. So quantitative, qualitative and having quality are two different things, right? So I want peace and I want every moment. That's how it is qualitative. But the awakening is different at different levels. So if you call that as quality, it is there. So I am having happiness at the level of expectation, I am having happiness at the level of thought and so on, isn't it? So if you call that as quality, that is there. But if I want it every moment. So it is not quantitative. So
Sorry, Bhaiya, I have articulated in a different manner. Let me put it this way. So we have said that there is no less happiness, more happiness, only happiness. Then how come the higher levels like peace, satisfaction, bliss?
yeah.
If I am happy itself, okay, I am happy. That's it.
But it is there in terms of time, no, whether it is continuous or not. Now
Continuous happiness only I am referring, Bhaiya.
Yeah. So when you say continuous happiness, it includes all these. There is no continuity of happiness without super bliss.
No, I am not getting it, Bhaiya.
There is no continuity of happiness without super bliss.
Uh-huh.
So when we say continuity of happiness, it includes all the 5. I try to make happiness continuous just by being active at the level of expectation, but that is not going to take place, because it is ultimately at the level of testing and selecting. That may change from time to time. So continuity of happiness is ensured only with realization of coexistence.
So here it is only happiness, not continuous happiness.
Continuous happiness. These all 5.
No, at the lower level, Bhaiya,
Yeah.
it is
Yes.
happiness.
Yes, happiness.
Happiness as excitement as expectation level.
No, this is also happiness, but it will not continue unless these 4 are ensured. It is momentary.
Bhaiya, how can we?
Then it can be called as an excitement. Temporary means excitement, no, Bhaiya.
Pardon?
Temporary means excitement. It is only momentary. Then how come we are calling it as happiness?
Because this is happiness. So yes, temporary happiness, to distinguish, we are calling it as excitement.
Yeah, Bhaiya.
Yes. Now here also if you see, at times I may have the right feeling. At times I may be in harmony.
That glimpses.
Yeah. So like for example, I may get free of conflict sometime. So at times I am at peace within momentarily. There was some conflict in me, it got resolved momentarily, isn't it? So it could be there even if the activities in block B1 are not activated completely. It could be there in me momentarily, out of some desire, out of some thought, out of some information from outside.
Bhaiya,
So-
I have 3 difficulties, please.
Ji.
Number 1, the state activity and dynamic activity, are they simultaneous or one after another?
Simultaneous.
Simultaneous. So can you explain whether the testing and selecting both are happening simultaneously, and how do they relate with the happiness which is written on the right side column? Number 2, among all these 5 components of super bliss, starting from happiness, how can a person distinguish whether I am in a state of happiness or peace or satisfaction, bliss or super bliss? Is there any mark of demarcation among these 5 components?
Yeah, so definiteness.
And number 3, last one. Kindly quote some real life example which can explain all these 10 activities, either in sequence or simultaneously, depicting all the things that are written on the right column.
Yeah.
Without example, it is very difficult to digest this
Yes.
concept.
Now it comes to, okay, going to the first question, see, so it is simultaneous in a sense that it's not that something has stopped and then something is taking place. So this is also continuous, the dynamic activity and the state activity is also continuous. That's how it is simultaneous. So for example, if you look at the feeling of trust, I am able to see that yes, the other person wants to make me happy. This gets stated in me as a part of right understanding. Now the dynamism associated is that when I think of relating to the other, it is with a feeling of trust. So the dynamism is from either top to bottom or from inside to outside.
It is a state activity.
Yes.
Then how can it?
No,
I
see,
am
thinking about trust is not a state activity. You are able to see the feeling of trust. You are able to see that every other person wants to make you happy.
See means understand, visualization,
Seeing
internal
means seeing.
feeling.
Contemplation, it means contemplation.
First you start from the testing and selecting region, then we move to the upper side.
Okay, now if you look at the current state, the
I am
arrows
giving-
can be reversed.
I am just giving an example. I am thinking of taking a very sweet dish. I am thinking of taking rasgulla, suppose. So it is about the testing part. Thereafter, I am selecting which particular brand of rasgulla should I consume. Am I appropriate? Am I thinking rightly?
It is not in consonance with this diagram because
No,
you
so-
started with Rasgulla.
No, the movement should be from block 2 to block 1 or block 1 to block 2.
So this diagram depicts how a person with right understanding is active. Now the person who starts with Rasgulla's choice may not have the right understanding. So going by this, now for example, if you talk about food, so there is no example as such for block B1 activities because these are definite, universal, continuous.
So the movement should be ideally from B1 to B2 or B2 to B1.
There is nothing like ideally. When I come to understand the reality, I am active like this. Presently, when I am not able to understand the reality, I may be somewhere here. Okay, that part could also be shown here when the arrows can be reversed. I am somewhere active here. So maybe I am there sitting here, right? And somebody comes with a plate of rasgulla. So maybe I selected to observe it, the rasgulla. If I was not seeing there, I would not have seen it. So I selected to see it, and then I taste it within. Oh, if I eat it, I will feel happy.
It is happening in imagination level, not
Yes.
real.
Yes.
Okay. Then
So you selected to see the plate of rasgulla, and that sight gave you a taste of happiness. That if I eat it, I am going to be happy. Then you went and realized how to have this rasgulla in my mouth. So it could be either by taking the rasgulla by oneself or by asking the person to serve to you, isn't it? And there is also comparing. I am a diabetic patient. Should I go for rasgulla or not? Now there, if you feel that this taste is superior to health, you go for it. If you compare that taste is not superior to health, health is superior, holds a higher priority, you will not go for it. So this comparing is taking place. Now within you, you have some imaging that by having favorable sensation, my life is going to be happy. This is already active. So this gets related to that. So maybe even if I am a this diabetic patient, I compare and I see that, I feel that I should be taking the rasgulla. And this is in coherence with my misguided imaging for sensation. So I pick the rasgulla, right? I eat it. Now when I go to eat again, this selecting, testing is taking place. So this is how I am operating.
then moving upwards again, contemplation,
Will
determination.
not move upward with the rasgulla.
No, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Bhaiya. Give another example. Give another suitable example where I can move upwards.
Yeah. So now, for example, you have a relationship in the family. Pardon? No, but going this way, it cannot go up to contemplation understanding. But for example, let's say I have a spouse in the family, and the relationship is not very harmonious, for example. So I select to have harmonious relationship with the wife or with the spouse, right? Then I taste something. What will happen of me? If she is not talking to me and I got to talk to her, it is not being insulted, it is not being disrespected. So all these feelings are there in you. You are testing it. The earlier occasion when I went to talk and she again shouted on me, it was very bad. So I should not be going. So this is something that you are doing here, and you are also analyzing in addition, the previous situation. You are comparing whether to go to her to talk or whether she should come to talk to me, isn't it? So this is something that is going on in you. You have some imaging here. One image is that yes, while living in a family, we should be in harmony. So many students are there. What will people think if somebody comes to our family and sees that this husband and wife are not talking? What will they say of me? Right? When you go outside, what will happen to me? So many contradictions are there. So many conflicting situations are there. At the same time, I also have natural acceptance that no, I am related to the other. So this natural acceptance is also operating. So when I am guided by natural acceptance, I try to contemplate what is acceptable to me naturally. Feeling of relationship or opposition. If I am able to see it clearly, then I get free of these conflicts because I am able to see my relationship with the other. But when we are going from here to here, it is not going to happen by a single situation. I have to contemplate on it in entirety. It is not going to happen with a spouse or child or a friend. Okay. So maybe I am able to contemplate on the feeling of trust, and I am able to see that every human being wants to make me happy. So why to keep the spouse aside, include her also. So I am able to contemplate on the feeling of trust. Now I am able to see that this other person, my spouse, is coexistence of self and body. Self is a conscious entity, body is a material entity. Both are part of nature. Okay. Now again, this will not ensure the understanding of harmony in the nature, but this could be a part. So before I am able to see the other person as coexistence of self and body, I am able to see for myself also. So I am able to see that I am a conscious entity coexisting with the material entity. This becomes a part of my understanding, isn't it? And then I am able to see that how come I am in coexistence with the body? What is the basis for this? How I am self-organized? How I am the body self-organized? I start questioning these things, and then at some point of time I am able to see the whole nature being submerged in space. But I gave this example, which was a kind of, I will say, just a indicative example. It is not going to happen like this, that by contemplating on a single relationship you are going to reach realization. No, it is not going to happen. Okay. But when you start thinking in terms of relationship, when you start thinking in terms of harmony, when you start thinking in terms of coexistence, then probability is there that you start activating higher level activities.
You can start thinking about the importance of your larger context.
Yeah. No. By thinking you will not. See, now if you just see, okay, you are there and you are not a part of the body, right? You are the observer, the seer, and you have to observe yourself. Why are you not able to see it? It is such a simple thing to see. I have to see myself. I am there with me all the time. Why I am not able to see myself? What is hindering my observation? You just try to imagine what is hindering. Why I am not able to see myself as a separate entity from the body? Because the moment I decide to see, I have so much of testing here. What will happen of me? It's not that attending UHV-3 and I get separated from the body and never come back. So that taste of fear is there, isn't it? Also that, is it so urgent? Why should I sit right now? So much time is left. So it is not such an urgent activity. And what will happen if I do not see? I am having a good income, a good job, family is going well. Why all this? Good that if I understand this, life is going to be comfortable. Otherwise also it is comfortable. And there is a risk that it becomes uncomfortable if I try to see this very moment. So you just see that seeing the whole nature submerged in space is such a big thing to do. I am not able to see myself as an entity separate from the body because I have so many doubts and fears in me. It is not my priority. If it is not my priority, how will it get activated? Otherwise, if you just try to see, just assigning the right priority is enough to observe the reality. But we are caught up in so many assumptions, preconditionings that we are not able to assign the priority. For example, if you look at your imagination, your first priority is to preserve the body. Rest other things will be taken care. I can attend another UHV-3. This body should sustain. So we have so many priorities. In all those priorities, this never comes to the priority. So I do not have the priority for right understanding, so to say. Isn't it? That's how we are not able to see it. We have so many obligations. We consider ourselves to be so responsible that we have so many other responsibilities to fulfill that this becomes a kind of tertiary to tertiary responsibility. Some time to be taken up in future when time permits. Yes, that is also a possibility.
Bhaiya,
Yeah.
expectation is to get from outside, to get it, na?
Not only from outside, from inside also.
Okay, expectation, we are expecting. Through expectation, we cannot be happy. But how come you can say that in the expectation layer, we do have happiness?
I am not saying that through expectation we cannot be happy. We are sitting here with an expectation that I can be happy out of this program.
We can be happy out of this program. But happiness should be come within, na? But how come that can be related in the happiness? Previous slide, Bhaiya. Now here we have given, no, that there is a happiness in that.
So you are ignoring all these arrows. So if you look at the state of the self when B1 is not activated and we are only active in the domain of imagination, they are also primarily at the level of expectation, isn't it? So the happiness essentially means that the testing gets fulfilled at times.
So it means natural expectations. When I am in a natural expectation, then I am happy.
When I am?
Natural expectations. Then I am in a happy state.
Yeah, so
Expectation.
yeah, but if it is right or not, I am not clear. So momentarily, by chance, I am having the right expectation.
Natural expectation is always right, no? It's
No.
similar to natural acceptance.
Natural expectation, we have not used that word. So you are trying to say expectation guided by natural acceptance?
Yes.
Yeah. Now that is not continuous because the higher level activities are not activated. So unless the higher level activities are activated, my expectation is not going to be guided by natural acceptance all the time. Momentarily it may be.
So you mean to say if I reach the realization, I can see the happiness in the expectation level, is it?
You can see even much before that. You always see happiness at the level of expectation. Only that it is momentary.
That momentary is excitement, na? How come we can, when it's
Yeah,
something
so that
called
momentary
momentary?
happiness is equated to excitement. Yes.
Okay, that is excitement,
Yes.
not happiness, na?
In fact, that momentary happiness is being given a word excitement. And to explain it in introductory workshops, we are distinguishing between happiness and excitement. And there we are equating happiness to be state of harmony. And that means continuity of happiness.
Sir, I have a doubt. Here. See, we are telling that we would be moving from the discontinued happiness. From that level, we will be going to the super bliss. But on the other side, only if we reach the super bliss, you are telling we would be able to come down and understand each one of them. Is that what you are trying to tell? Because from the diagram and what you say, I am having a conflict between this being racing from bottom to up and that being telling that you have to realize and come down.
Yeah, so that diagram is not placed here. So when we are in the process of awakening and we have not been awakened, then these arrows can be reversed. We are moving from here to here, here, and then going gradually to realization. So we are in that process.
So once we have gone to the realization stage, you say that it would be internally possible for us, for each and every activity that is happening in ourself, we would be able to differentiate and see them accordingly. Is that what we are trying to?
You can see even before that. Presently also in your imagination, you can see what is testing, what is selecting, what is imaging, what is
that
comparing.
is there. So the purpose of telling that from there we are coming to bottom, I'm not able to get.
This is the state of continuity of happiness. What is being presented here is the state of continuity of happiness in the self. In that state of continuity of happiness in the self, this is the state of activities. They are guided like this.
Okay. So what I am telling is then what my understanding is correct. So you would be in happiness state to start with, and that happiness will not be continuous. And then as you mature, you go to the super bliss. But when we are talking about, we say we will see, we will do, and then we will experience.
I am always
And
a
that
seer.
has not got any connection with this, is it?
No, that is the same thing. See, seeing means seeing coexistence, harmony and relationship. Okay. Doing is, like one meaning associated is whatever I am doing in the imagination. Okay. But we can associate this dynamic activity also to doing, but this is something natural. So that's why we are not calling it as doing. So doing is here in the imagination, and experiencing is both here and here. These are all I am experiencing. So when I have reached the state of realization, then my activity completeness has taken place. All the activities are awakened now, and then I am happy in continuity. Then I am in the state of super bliss, satisfaction, peace and happiness every moment. And the happiness has become innate to me. I do not have to borrow happiness from outside. With this happiness innate to me, I am participating outside. So if you see, on one end I am working for this realization within, on the other hand I am expressing it outside, and the expression outside goes up to human tradition. Seeing the eternity as it is. Ji, you are saying. Yes. But happiness not in continuity here. From imagination I am going to realization. Take a mic.
In the red arrow and yellow arrow.
Yeah. Rajul bhai has put these colors. So in fact, this can also be made yellow, and here it is red. So yellow color means in block B1, red means in block B2. Nothing particular with that. And basically these colors have been chosen so that, because if the red color was placed here, it would not have been visible. You can place some other color also.
Bhaiya, I would like to add something here. Can I? The color actually you have selected excellently. Awesome. It's rocking, serious. Why? Because red has deeper wavelength of penetration from physics point of view. Yellow has shorter wavelength than red. So, sir? Deeper wavelength will have an impact. So whenever they choose cancer cell killing, IR red laser they will use. Why? Because the penetration should be deeper to kill the cell. Actually these block B1s, if all people are living in this block B2, which is coated with this red color, definitely it will not give us happiness. We need to shift to block B1, yellow, which is the super energetic level. We call it as mean yellow, mean green. We give the word mean yellow, mean green in solar spectrum because that has an intimate connectivity. Scientifically, this color has a beautiful value. Really hats off to you in selecting this color. Thanks, sir.
Not go by that color. Now this is a typical example how we associate different meanings to the same sensation. Somebody is thinking about super bliss, somebody is thinking about color, somebody is thinking about block B1 and B2. You just see the same sensation being given different meanings.
You told one more thing, bottom up. We have in nanotechnology two approaches, top down, bottom up. Cut a tree to a nanoparticle is top down approach. Build a plant, make a tree is bottom up approach. So you through UHV, you are making us all to raise from bottom to top, where there will be no wastage. So in top down, all wastage will come. In bottom up, we call it as self-assembly process, where there is no wastage and formation. The best example is our DNA. Thank you, sir.
Just a moment. Now here if you see, it is top down. So from bottom to up, I am going like this in the process of realization. With realization, I am coming like this. So this is with realization, and the other way around could be for realization. But nice, nice. Now I have to see this within me. So this is just a depiction. This is a language given to the reality. This is me. I have to see these activities in me. So I have to find out, should I call or do I call this activity as selection or testing? Do I call it as comparing or analyzing? So I have to look into my imagination and then make out the activities.
Sir, one last clarification. So when we are talking about bottom up and top down, I mean, is it that we are talking from bottom up in self and top down with the relationship with others?
No. See, this is in me. I am awakening to the higher level activities. So I am going from bottom to top, isn't it? Now when I am at the bottom, happiness is very momentary. As I move up, the duration of happiness gets increased. But when I am at the top, it is continuous.
The arrow marks are coming.
Yeah, now with this there is continuity. With this diagram shows continuity of happiness and the definiteness and completeness of all the activities. Now all these activities are definite as well as complete. So this is the completeness of right understanding which is being depicted here. Nice. So what we discussed so far, with this we can see how I am the seer, doer and enjoyer, and I use the body as an instrument for fulfillment of my program. So you can see that essentially this whole life I have to work for this development, isn't it? Body is merely my instrument. If I am able to accomplish this, then the purpose of life is fulfilled. Otherwise I am back to square one, isn't it? So the body is merely my instrument. The self is central to human existence. So the core of all our programs is this development of the self. So now I can start evaluating myself.
Bhaiya, just
progress.
1 minute, sorry. Do you mean that when we are in a state of realization, is it getting manifested in terms of authentication?
Yes.
That is our dynamic activity?
Yes, the manifestation is the dynamic activity.
And when we are in a state of understanding, that is manifesting in terms of determination?
Yes.
And similar for both the columns? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So the body is an instrument of the self, and the self is central to human existence. So now we are again using the word self, but essentially we are talking about me, I. So I am central to this being of the human being, isn't it? This body is my instrument, and I have to evaluate every moment whether I am developing or not. So in the 24 hours of a day, how much I am making effort for development of the self, and how much time I am spending without developing the self. Am I really developing? So all the work that I am doing, I can keep whether it is able to awaken the higher level activities. Am I contemplating on the right feeling, or my imagination is misguided by naturally unacceptable feelings? Am I analyzing in terms of harmony, or I am analyzing in terms of disharmony, contradiction? Am I making a program, my vision of life in terms of coexistence, or is it otherwise? Isn't it? Yeah, okay. So now with this we can again have a look at this diagram. So I am there. I am there, है ना? And my being is not dependent on the body. My being is not dependent on any other external entity. I am very much there, है ना? In continuity. My body is there temporarily. The will to live is there in me, so I want to live. The body doesn't want to live. The body is my instrument, है ना? The want to live is there in me. If somebody comes with a dagger to me, it's me who feels afraid, not the body. I move back, not the body. है ना? I decide to take the body back, isn't it? So it's me who wants to live. And I only don't want to live, I want to live with continuous happiness. And continuous happiness means I want to be in a state in which I can continue. And that state is the state of harmony, which we can explore. We can see that for the body, I require physical facility only for three purposes: nurturing the body, protecting the body, and rightly utilizing the body. Now, when I am able to understand this, then I can rightly make out the meaning of prosperity. So, as a responsibility, we all have to make out how much facility I need for nurturing the body. Can we make it out clearly? Can I make it out for my child? Can I make it out for my family? How much facility I require for nurturing the body? How much facility I require for protecting the body? How much facility I require for rightly utilizing the body? Isn't it? If I can make out this program correctly, then only I can be free of contradictions in me. Then only I can have the feeling of prosperity in me. So when I am having the physical facilities also, I can go and see whether this is meant for nurturing the body, protecting the body, rightly utilizing the body, or otherwise. If it is otherwise, I don't need it. So for every facility in the house, this is also a task, like a task that we had taken up in UHV introductory workshop, that I have to count my clothes. Now we have to make an assessment of all the facilities in the house. What are they meant for? Isn't it? What is the purpose behind this? Now you go to somebody's house and there is a brass statue of a person holding kind of lance in the hand. Now what is the purpose of that? So we can make out, why should I go for purchasing a painting for 1 crore rupees? What is the purpose of that? Is it going to nurture my body? Is it going to protect my body? Is it going to utilize my body? If not, this is not my need. And that is a physical facility. I might spend so much of time and energy going for that. So I have to make out whether I am able to see this clearly. So am I able to see that whatever physical facility I require is only for three purposes and not otherwise? Isn't it? This is also some doable task for each one of us. We have to make it out. My program, Ji? So I am leaving it open. You have to make out whether it is nurturing the body, protecting the body, or rightly utilizing the body. I just gave an example. We can take several other examples. Yeah. Now fine. So one argument could be that I purchase this because this is nurturing the other. So should I purchase poison and consume so that it is nurturing the other? In fact, what could be the right way to nurture the other? That is something that I have to make out. I will not start drinking alcohol because so many families are deprived of income. So, yeah,
Might be a main mode of earning for them, income for them, right? So in that aspect, if we take,
yeah, there also I have to see what would be the right program for the other person to ensure prosperity. It so happens that one part of society accumulates a lot, right? And then the other part of society tries to derive income out of some portion of accumulation. If you look at the economics, there is something called trickle down theory, that if people accumulate more and consume more, a part of it will come to the rest of the society, which doesn't work, because how do I accumulate? By exploiting the other. So on one hand I am exploiting the other, accumulating, and then shedding a part of it on the other, which is not going to make the society prosperous. So we have to make out the right program. Again, that was just a example of how we can be not finding out the purpose of the physical facility, but we can keep it open and observe. So I can see for every facility in my house what is the purpose. And if you start looking at it, you may come to a state when you are able to see that I have so much, what to do with the rest. I require only this much and I have this much, what to do with the rest. That is the state of prosperity when I am able to see this clearly. And then I feel like sharing with the other, isn't it? And there could be other modes of sharing. In place of making somebody produce something which is not a need, I will go and directly try to nurture the other by educating the other. So I can see a clear possibility that all of us can be in a position when after some time we are able to see that we have more than required, and rest of the life has to go for developing the self in the society, all the other self. This is quite possible, and the whole society can come to that stage, isn't it? We can come to a